So many women are balancing careers, businesses, motherhoods, well-being and life changes, often all at once. But the conversations around leadership don't always reflect that reality. That's why we created She Leads, a summit designed to create space for honest dialogue, shared experiences and practical insight from women who truly understand the journey. In this series, we'll hear from the women shaping this space, sharing their journeys, lessons and insights. Today we're joined by Jossette Naiken, the founder of JBC Distribution, who works with brands like Hakka, Silverette and Easy Peasy. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jossette. We'd first love to hear a little bit about you, Jossette. So you've come from a background of investment banking and now into distribution. What has attracted you to the baby and kids market and industry?
Well, first of all, thank you, Ashleigh, for having me here today. It's been great to talk with you and to talk with the audience for Baby Kids Expo. Yes, it's a bit of a strange transition. I was working in investment banking and I was expecting my first child, and I was planning to give birth in Australia, and so I didn't have all of those baby gear essentials that I needed to have a newborn. I didn't have a cart or stroller or any of those big items, as well as the small items. And I came across a rental service in Australia where you could rent everything that you needed. And as Dubai was doing a big push to make Dubai a family tourist destination, I felt that that was a great business idea to have in Dubai. And so I started that in 2015. Actually, the business idea started to be incubated when my son was 1 month old. So I was on maternity leave and I started planning this business. So over the years, I had a network of distributors and retailers that I worked with to obtain products. And it was like a natural progression to move into distribution. The business was already fully set up. And I went to a trade show and I met a few really interesting brands that were really innovative. And so that's when I launched JBC Distribution.
It's so nice to hear about your journey from investment banking to now becoming a mum and now into distribution. It's amazing how becoming a mum really changes your perspective on things and makes you think about things that you've never actually thought about before. So taking a baby on holiday, all the things that you need to plan, the things that you need to bring with you, but also just the day-to-day changes of becoming a mum.
It really is. And you know, as being a mother yourself, you know that on the WhatsApp groups or on the Facebook groups, people are always asking for a car or a stroller, car seat or a stroller. So it's a service that was really needed at the time, especially as a big boom into tourism. I think that the market has definitely had to adapt, and I think that we'll still see a bit of a ripple effect throughout the rest of the year. We've all had to make small changes, and we've always had to make some slightly longer term changes as well. But the UAE government's very resilient, and I know that we will be back to normal trading, but we do need to take a little bit of time to assess where we're going over the next 12 months. As far as our categories, what we're seeing still taking momentum is really down to the essentials. These are things that mothers can't do without, mothers and families. And that we're very fortunate that at JBC we have quite a few brands that are mother essentials, mother and baby care. So we take care of prenatal, postnatal and feeding.
You're so right in what you just said there. You know, there's always going to be amazing periods, there's also always going to be challenging periods, but you know, there's one thing within this industry which is also always going to remain kind of stable. You know, people are always going to be having babies, so there's always going to be a need and a want for these products, for different kinds of innovation. It's always going to be something. Just following on from that, what would you say right now are the brands, categories or products that are showing the greatest momentum?
Yeah, actually, as we were just saying, that we're still seeing strength across sort of those essential categories, and I think there would have been some strength across travel as well, as people are moving around. Some people went on vacation early, some people are still here, but they'll be planning to travel over the summer. So I think we'll still see growth in those areas. And the momentum will continue. In baby essentials, people are still going to give birth, they're still going to need things, but maybe the drive will be a little bit different. I think that families are a little bit more conscious about spending, and so they might be looking for a more value product than they are, a higher end luxury product.
That's really interesting to hear, and it actually kind of leads me on to the next question. Have you seen in recent months any changes in the way, or trends even, in the way parents are spending money?
I think there's definitely been a change in spending habits from parents, and this is actually something we've noticed over the last few years. So for us as a business, we are always talking to families and trying to really have an understanding of where consumers are at. The cost of living has gone up over the last few years. Families, we're all paying higher rents than what we've been paying before. And we took a decision last year, actually. We decided we have a lot of very premium brands, but we looked at a brand that was offering quality products, but at a more affordable price point. So we launched Babu, who will be showcasing at the Baby and Kids Expo in October, and we're really excited about it because they offer a range that is more affordable, but still a really fantastic quality product. So the Gulf, obviously, we have a number of different countries, and they all have a different consumer, end consumer, and how they purchase. But what we see as the biggest growth opportunity is Saudi Arabia. And we were really excited when Baby Expo was going to be in Saudi Arabia, and we were an exhibitor last year in October. We weren't really sure what to expect of the show. We know that the quality of the show will be amazing, but what to expect from B2B consumers, other businesses, other distributors, what brands will be there. And we were blown away by the attendance that was there and the interest that we had from so many consumers, that despite we have brands that were available in Saudi Arabia, they were still having trouble to get access to them the way that they wanted. That's a really good question. Obviously, there's lots of elements that we need to take into account, but the three main things that we look for are innovation. We look for a product that's new on the market, that solves a real life issue. Second, we look for gaps in the market. What is there that's in the market, maybe abroad, that we haven't been able to see here? And the third one is, again, solving products that solve real life issues that parents face. And I think when we look at those three products, that's when those three elements, that's where we are able to sort of dive down and make a decision about onboarding a brand. This is actually a really good question. So we have to go back and look at the data. We have to go and look at the data and see where we're at, what's our forecasting. And I think it's just about making, like I said earlier, make short-term decisions, what we're going to do in the near term, whilst we wait to see how long this might go on for, and then some longer term decisions as well, because we might have to make a decision to not onboard a brand perhaps because the timing's not right. Fortunately, we are not in that situation, but had we been launching a brand, we would have had to have postponed. So there's decisions that have to be made. So I think it's about resilience. We need to be resilient, and we need to be really flexible. And I think that's something that we're constantly, weekly tweaking and to sort of stay on our strategy.
Yeah. From your personal experience, but also your professional experience, if a new brand was entering the market today, what's the one piece of advice that you would give to them?
I'd ask them to really look at the market. It's not one market. Well, for the UAE, yes it is, but as a distributor, I don't focus on one market. I focus on the GCC. So we've got customers all throughout. I would feel like it was unfair almost to only launch a product in the UAE. I think that they also need to understand how each market behaves differently, and also understand that there's sort of steps to entry as well. And I think also it's a case of finding the right partner to work with that's following the strategy that you're wanting to take forward, and also listening to that person that you're working with as well.
We're really excited to have you joining us as a speaker at the inaugural She Leads Summit, which will be taking place as part of the Baby and Kids Expo in October. As a mum of two running a business, what would you say that's taught you to date?
Lots of flexibility and adaptability. It's not an easy journey. I think that being a mother and sort of running a business, both of those jobs are 24/7. You don't really have an off switch. So I think that you're constantly humming in the background, whether it's business or whether you're thinking about family commitments. I think that the one thing you need to do is really think about what your network is, your support network. So making sure that you've got a really good support network at home, and then you also need that same support network at work, because things change in the middle of the day and you're the one that has to go running to pick up little Johnny from the health office. So I think lots of adaptability and flexibility.
Yeah, that's so true. It's amazing how 24/7, 365 days of the year, as a mum, you're constantly in that autopilot mode.
Exactly, and you can't actually really take a full break and fully switch off, because you have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to your staff, you have a responsibility to your consumers, you have a responsibility to your brands, but also we have a responsibility to our family as well. So it's not an easy juggle. There's a lot of plates to spin, but I think a lot of us just get on with it.
In a way, do you think being a mum of two and constantly having to juggle family life and business has made you stronger from a leadership and a business perspective?
That's a tough one to answer. I think that, particularly in our industry, I think it's a strength, because I can call on my own experiences. My experiences from delivering my son has had a huge impact on my business as a whole. I had breastfeeding issues, so a lot of my brands are actually breastfeeding related, because they were directly, something that helped a mum. And it's actually really rewarding to work with a brand that you'll have so many mums openly come up to you and say, that saved my breastfeeding journey. It's definitely impacted me as becoming a business leader. You are always on the go, and even down to the decision making that I make in my business is almost always founded upon my parenting experience and the parenting experiences I have from my friends and peers as well. Also just hearing what people's experiences are third party when you go to community events, or what you see online in mum groups. So I think that my parenting experience is a huge part of business success. You can really identify with what consumers are wanting, or the real life experiences they have. You're constantly spinning plates. It's not easy to manage both the business and your personal life, and by no means will I say that there's a recipe to that success. The only thing I can really emphasize on for people, mothers wanting to go into business, is making sure that you've got a really nice support network. So not only at home to help you with your kids, a really good support network for people that can help you in the office and be able to work without you being there. I think success of the brands keeps us motivated. It's not always easy. You are sort of quite isolated sometimes in business, and sometimes I think all of us, we suffer a little periods of burnout, but when you see a brand doing really well, it's really exciting. Meeting new brands is really exciting, and I think that growth process is kind of exciting. So I think that's what keeps us going constantly. Is as the market evolves, our offerings also evolve as well.
Yeah. Just reflecting on what you were saying there, as a mum, you constantly feel that you're spinning so many different plates, and you always kind of have that mum guilt in the back of your head. But I think when you see your children thriving at school, they're happy, they're doing well at extracurricular activities, it kind of gives you that enthusiasm and that will to keep going and keep pushing and keep working hard.
Yes, it does. And I think, maybe when children are a bit younger, they don't really see, but I know that my daughter, she'll be saying, my mum runs business, and she likes to think, she sees a business card, it will say CEO founder, she's like, oh, my mum's a CEO. So I think there is an element that, they love that, actually. My kids are the first to get into any product that I might have a sample on my desk. I have live testing samples, testing children. So I think that also keeps you motivated as well. So, I think that you do go through peaks and troughs, but you have your children there, you've got your family, and the success of the business and the success of brands, meeting new brands really kind of keeps the momentum going.
And I know we've sort of touched on this before, but for mums out there that are thinking about starting up their own business, or who are just finishing up their maternity leave and thinking about making that step to return back into the workplace, what's the single piece of advice that you would give them that you think has been most powerful for you?
Actually, my favourite tip would be, it does seem like it might be really daunting, but you just need to keep taking those small steps. Things change, you will be pulled in different directions, especially if you're a new mum. You suffer, maybe it's a little bit of sleep deprivation now and then, but just taking small steps and sort of join a group where you can sort of bounce ideas from people, because there's a lot to be learnt just on that starting a business journey. And there's also a lot of lovely women that are happy to share their experience, or may have a connection that might help you with something along the way.
Yeah, I honestly agree with that so much. I think living here in the UAE, there's such an amazing community feel. And particularly as a mum, I think you seek out these communities, maybe when you're in that pregnancy journey, or when you've had a baby, or you're going through different phases. You're maybe looking for a nursery, or you're looking for a school, or you're looking for different brands, or clubs, or a doctor. There's so many things, and mums really look into and really invest and trust these communities. And I think it's such an important part of being a parent and living as an expat abroad.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you are not necessarily around all the same peers that you would have had at home, so you are having to meet new people, and there's a lot more things to learn on a journey of starting a business. So I think you really do need that. And some of my best friends that I've got are actually small business owners, because we have that common foundation. So we're there to celebrate the successes, and we're also there to get on the phone and go, oh, this is not going well. Yeah. So we share that together, and yeah. I think that's a great way. If you start a business, try and find someone who might be on that same journey as you, and you'll be able to share that together. Exactly.
Amazing.
Yes, so Baby and Kids Expo, we're super excited to be part of Baby and Kids Expo in October. The event is actually incredibly important to us. It's one of the biggest events that we have, and it's really unique in that it brings together under one house consumers, so we get to speak live with consumers and get feedback, we get them advice about products, and it's a way for us to be in touch with the consumer. It brings us also in touch with retailers, so we get to meet lots of different retailers in one event under one house. And of course we meet with new brands as well, so brands are there that we may not have seen before, or maybe we've seen but we actually get a chance to meet face to face. We get a chance to see the products. So it really brings together all of the B2B and B2C uniquely under one house, and it's a really important event for us, and we're really excited to be part of it. I think that brands should look for someone that really believes in their brand. You need to find someone who, if I was a brand, I'd be wanting to work with someone who's like an extension of me, who's going to be upholding my values that I've put into my brand. And I think that sometimes that synergy is really important. Having someone that you can communicate well with, who understands you, that you understand them, and that you're going together to be working on one strategic direction together.
Amazing. That sounds like really great advice, and something that which I feel so many mums will want to take on board. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jossette. It's been such a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you so much for having me.